days of my call. Over 30 search and rescue team members searched 3 different times on foot. 1 helicopter flyover was done and there was no trace of Kenny or any of his camping things. They found his car in the area I told them it would be. They did find his cell phone by the mineshaft in the video. The mineshaft was only about a 4-hour hike from his car. It is my feeling he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on this solo hike. It was left in his home, so he had no intention of filming anything. I share this with you for 2 reasons. First, so that you have more of an understanding of who Kenny was and to bring some peace or understanding to the situation. I had many wonderful experiences with Kenny. I will always remember them and have a place of love in my heart for him and those wonderful things we did together. So Sharon, Kenny's girlfriend, someone who knew Kenny very well, believed that he had gone off somewhere in the desert and taken himself out. And honestly, she makes a pretty convincing case for this. Folks began speculating that the reason why Kenny's body wasn't found was because the man went to great lengths to make sure that it wouldn't be. They felt that Kenny purposely went somewhere extremely hidden if he did commit what the girlfriend was suggesting. That being because Kenny didn't want friends and family to find him afterwards and have to experience something similar to what he did after finding his father all those years ago. As mentioned in the write-up, Kenny's girlfriend mentioned that he left his camera at home. Why would Kenny leave his camera at home if he was planning on recording another M-Cave adventure and posting it to YouTube? It seemed like the man might have had a different mission in mind when going out to the desert in November. Police have also made various statements supporting the ideas that Kenny's girlfriend purports. Apparently, after authorities had performed a search of Kenny's computer, they found that he had Google search phrases which YouTube doesn't like me repeating. But let's just say these searches corroborate the girlfriend's theory. One of these phrases searched was literally "help me." But some have not given up hope in finding Kenny, and many to this day still search the area of the MK video in the hopes of finding him alive or his body. Some have even claimed to have found the mythical M cave that Kenny had been searching for, but it's impossible to say for sure if this is the cave that Kenny was looking for. Kenny's story continues to fascinate the YouTube community to this day, and while it appears as if he met a fate similar to his father, the Snakebit McGee saga will remain a mystery until Kenny is found. Before we get into our next story, a brief message from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Raycon. Raycon provides premium quality wireless earbuds at a price that won't break the bank, boasting a stylish and sleek design for various bands in his local area. Some of this content would be uploaded directly to his YouTube channel called Sunspike, which was created back in 2009 when Nick was around 20 years old. Along with documentaries and rave videos, the Sunspike YouTube channel contained a number of videos showcasing Nicholas participating in his favorite pastime. That pastime being dancing. The man would take any opportunity at any location to show off his moves. Around the time of the Sunspike channel's creation, Nicholas was living with his friend Austin in San Diego, California. However, due to unspecified circumstances, eventually these two were compelled to leave this residence and were essentially made homeless. Around this time, Nick and Austin were essentially vagabonds who would move to the Salton Beach area living in a makeshift shelter. Salton Beach is an ecologically bizarre area in California that honestly deserves its own video, but here's a brief explanation of what it is. Salton Beach is a small beach town with a population of 508 people and was once a massive tourist attraction in the mid-20th century. However, now the place is nothing but ruins. The town has become mostly abandoned due to environmental changes within and around the Salton Sea. The sea was at one point considered a beautiful oasis, but now due to a rise in salinity, it has become uninhabitable. The once bustling tourist trap that surrounded the sea has become an utter ghost town. The area littered with abandoned houses and forgotten relics of its former 1950s glory. Despite its destitute state, Sultan still attracts attention due to its legacy and bizarre ecosystem. Many tourists travel to the area motivated out of morbid curiosity. Over the years, Sultan has attracted the likes of curious YouTubers who come to explore its shores and share the bizarre area with their followers. Which brings us to a YouTube channel that you guys might be familiar with, known as Explore With Us. In the summer of 2018, the Explore With Us YouTube channel was live streaming themselves investigating an abandoned house in the Sultan Beach area. While they're exploring, a man pulls up to them on a scooter and explains that he's looking for a piano that had recently gone missing from the property that the YouTubers were investigating.
Morning when we walked out and we saw somebody walking by.
Scootering by.
That's how he was scooter. He was on a scooter. Everyone called him Scooter Boy.
Yes.
When he came scootering up. No, there was a piano? No, this is the first time we've been here, dude. We're live streaming right now.
This scooter riding man was none other than Austin, Nicholas's old San Diego roommate. Instead of accusing the YouTubers of taking the piano or something like you might think this guy would, he's actually overtly friendly to them. And later footage would show that Austin actually introduces the Explore With Us team to Nicholas Sondreger. Both of these guys were still living at Sultan Beach all this time later.
No, we didn't scare us, man. We thought you guys were gonna put on the show. Hey, how you doing? I'm Nick. Hey, Bob. Nice to meet you.
Explore With Us, Nick, and Austin would then explore different abandoned areas of Sultan Beach together as the free-spirited duo gave the father and daughter-operated YouTube channel a tour through various locations of this ramshackle town, which included a supposedly secret compound. Nick and Austin expressed they hoped to fix up the area and make it habitable once again. Their ultimate goal was to create a venue for the rave scene, something Nicholas claimed to have quite a bit of success with in different parts of the country. Nicholas also warns the YouTubers to tread lightly, informing them that various people have gone missing from the area over the years. Some had even been murdered, he said.
And then, I think like a year ago, there was a body found right over those bushes. And I used to like play there as a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
Like right on the side of those trees over there?
Like on the other side of those trees, yeah, there was a body found. Also another guy, I think, after that guy committed suicide, another guy like tried to stay in that house and then got his neck slashed by like cartel members that
Explore With Us's interaction with Nicholas Sondreger and Austin in Sultan Beach proved to be quite the compelling content. The channel established a friendship with Nick and Austin and would later bring them water and other gifts during their various follow-up encounters throughout that summer. The Sultan series proved quite the success on Explore With Us's channel, but with more attention to the series came issues, as trolls would often pop into the live stream chats and demean Austin and Nick for wearing the same clothes all the time, making fun of their living conditions as well. There was also one incident caught on camera where Nick and Austin went into an abandoned gas station and took copper wire out of it, and the chat started freaking out and calling them crackheads.
So one thing that made Emma really upset, and I wasn't even aware that it was happening because Emma was always holding the camera.
Yeah, so it was the wire incident. They led us one night while we were live streaming, they led us to an abandoned gas station. And we were in there, we were exploring. They found this wire they wanted to repurpose and reuse it.
we might be able to rig something out of this.
Okay, they are tweakers. LOL, took them on a robbing spree, LOL. They just stole that. Stealing wire? Hashtag copper pays. Assisted with theft. Ooh. Nicholas felt so bad about this that he would actually end up apologizing to Explore With Us and told them that he knew the owner of the gas station and was allowed to take things from there and repurpose them if he wanted. The whole copper wire incident was really a non-issue, but I thought that interaction was interesting. After several encounters with Nicholas and Austin and Sultan City, Explore With Us would eventually leave Southern California in August and lost touch with the two. However, several months later, a fan of the Explore With Us channel would reach out to them with something that brought them back into the fold. It was an update saying that Nicholas had gone missing. This is the story that Explore With Us was told. On September 7th of 2018, Nick and Austin were hanging out at their Salton Beach compound, staying up late into the night. At approximately 2:30 a.m., they heard an alarming sound in the distance, a sound that resembled a screaming woman. After hearing this chilling scream, they debate on whether they should go out and investigate or stay inside. According to a report by Austin, the two decided to stay in and Austin would fall asleep. But when he woke up in the morning, Nicholas was nowhere to be found. He went out searching for his friend but found no sign of him anywhere. Austin would then call the Imperial County Police and reported Nick missing. About a block away from their compound, search efforts managed to yield several of Nick's belongings and clothing items. Those items being a boot, a pair of pants, and a knife sleeve. A message from Austin explains the situation. It was over a week ago, Saturday night, at like 2 a.m. I went to sleep and when I woke up he was gone. I found his flashlight a block from home, then investigators found one of his boots and pants near the water with his knife sleeve and no wallet or keys. In light of the man's disappearance, the Imperial County Sheriff's Office would announce a $10,000 reward for anyone able to provide them with information that could lead to his whereabouts. The Explore With Us team would travel back to Salton and aid in the search for Nick. While performing would prove to be a fruitless search for the man, the Explore With Us team heavily criticized the Imperial County Police and proclaimed that the local PD did not care about the case at all, as it seemed authorities were willing to offer little in terms of any sizable search party.
Imperial County doesn't seem to care.
No.
They have not been out here. There was no search and rescue from what we can find. They just do not seem to care at all that Nick is missing.
Communications with Austin from this time show he was concerned that Nick had been murdered. He also suggested it was possible that Nick had ran away to Slab City, an off-the-grid unincorporated community in California popular with drifters and vagabonds. Unfortunately, after 2019, there have been no new updates in Nick's case, and the man is still missing to this day. No new evidence or any sort of information has been released in regards to his whereabouts. This hasn't stopped those online from speculating and creating conspiracy theories regarding the disappearance, though. There are theories ranging from Nick falling prey to a serial killer, with others expressing suspicion towards Austin regarding the matter. One Redditor commented, "There's reports around of people faking someone in need of help, like a lady screaming or a baby crying to lure others into vulnerable positions to attack them. Austin could be lying, sure, but he could have gone to sleep thinking the discussion was over and they weren't going outside. Then after he fell asleep, Nick went out anyways to check or whatnot and things went bad." Personally, I remain hopeful that Nick just decided simply to move away from the Salton Beach. Being a known drifter, it wouldn't be too out of the ordinary for him to just up and leave. However, the personal belongings and clothing found at the scene certainly make you concerned for his safety. Whatever the case, that was the ongoing mystery surrounding the disappearance of Nicholas Sonderegger. Our next story is a bizarre missing persons case involving a woman foreshadowing her own disappearance through YouTube videos. This is the Talika Patrick story. 30-year-old Talika Patrick was born on September 18th of 1983. She spent the first 2 years of her life in Hyattsville, Maryland before moving to Queens, New York. There, she was raised. Talika excelled in academics as a child and earned many awards in math, science, reading, and spelling. Her childhood academic penchant would continue to translate into adulthood as she pursued her scholarly goals, moving to California and attending medical school. While in medical school, she would meet her husband, Ismail Keldron. The two met online and quickly got married in 2006. Being in medical school, getting married, possibly starting a family, Talika's life was on the up and up, it seemed. Unfortunately though, as Talika started hitting her late 20s, friends, family members, and loved ones started noticing subtle changes in Talika's mental state that started raising eyebrows. Ismail has reflected on this time, stating that Talika became progressively paranoid, distressed, delusional, and often heard voices. Talika often spoke religiously and appeared to be experiencing delusions of grandeur, once stating that she thought to be directly sent to Earth from God. At one point, Talika had told her husband that the movie A Beautiful Mind, which depicted a schizophrenic math prodigy, was similar to her own life story. That's a good movie, by the way. You guys need to watch that. During the peak of Talika's delusions, Ismail pleaded with his wife to get help. However, she refused to see a mental health professional. Quote, I begged her to get mental help. When I urged her to get help, she told me she didn't need help and that I was trying to destroy her career. Ismail thought that Talika was fearful of being branded with a mental illness and was convinced it would destroy her medical career. Due to the immense stress created by this burgeoning mental illness, Talika and Ismail would separate by divorce in 2012. 1 year after this divorce, Talika, despite her ongoing issues, would manage to graduate from medical school in the spring of 2013 with a medical degree and doctorate in biochemistry. After the divorce and graduation, Talika's mental illness would become more pronounced. Around this time, Talika had become obsessed with a gospel singer known as Marvin Sapp. She would listen to this Grammy-nominated religious musician almost constantly throughout her days. And her fixation with this pastor and musician got so bad that she would move from California to Michigan, where this guy lived, just so she could be in closer proximity to him. After moving, Talika would serve a medical residency at the Western Michigan University School of Medicine, which was at the Borges Medical Center in Kalamazoo, Michigan. After the move, Talika sought out Mr. Sapp's church, that church being the Full Life Center Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Here, the man would perform and give sermons. Talika frequently attended the pastor's congregation and reportedly got to speak with him in person on occasion, but apparently this wasn't enough for the obsessed woman. It's been reported that the woman sent hundreds of messages to Marvin Sapp on social media, messages that the man never once responded to. It's also said that she would publicly go around telling people that she was Marvin Sapp's wife. She was even said to have contacted Mr. Sapp's children and even showed up to the pastor's home uninvited on at least one occasion. Yeah, with Talika, we're entering some pretty dangerous waters here. As a result of this harassment, in September of 2013, Mr. Sapp was forced to file a restraining order against Talika. The man stated in a court document that he had over 400 pages of correspondence from Talika that he had ignored. Marvin Sapp was given a personal protective order by the courts. Quote, I am a national recording artist on the RCA label who Talika Patrick has claimed as her husband. She has moved from California to Michigan, joined my church, contacts my children, and has been to my home. I have at least 400 pages of correspondence from her, which I have never responded to. And curiously, after the restraining order was filed, that's when Talika's YouTube channel pops up. Soon after the issuance of the order, Talika would begin posting strange videos to YouTube under the username Sandra3000Cassie. In November of 2013, in a video titled My Awesome Day, the woman appears quite jovial and talked to the camera as if she was speaking to some sort of love interest far away.
Hi baby, good night. It's Talika. I am just coming to you to say hi and just to tell you about my day.
It seemed as if she was making this video for one specific person who she really loved, if you know what I'm saying. After she finishes recapping her day, she then begins to sing,
You walked into my life and stopped my big tears. Everything's easy now.
and signs off with the words, I love you, have a good night, bye, I love you. In another video published November 10th of 2013, Talika showcases herself cooking an extravagant breakfast made for 2 people while singing and talking to the camera.
And we both have orange juice, and here are the flowers from last time.
It's important to note that Talika lived by herself. Naturally, one can speculate here that Talika is making these videos and is addressing Mr. Sapp, the person who filed the restraining order against her. And with that context in mind, these videos are extremely disturbing to say the least.
First, I had morning report. No, not morning report. Conferences for pediatrics.
And things would only get even more bizarre when just a month or so after these videos had been published, Talika Patrick would go missing. This is what happens. In December of 2013, before leaving work, Talika would tell her medical colleagues that she was about to take a trip to Chicago under the premise of visiting some family back home. But Talika doesn't go to Chicago. Rather, hours later, security camera footage taken at the Radisson Hotel in Kalamazoo, Michigan, captures the woman entering the aforementioned hotel building at approximately 7:30 p.m. On camera, Talika looked visibly tired and tries to book a hotel, but then for whatever reason changes her mind and backs away from the counter, displaying strange body language. Talika was then said to have informed hotel staff that she needed a ride back to the hospital that she worked at. Staff complied, providing a complimentary hotel shuttle to the location. She was dropped off at the Borges Medical Center next to her car, and this hotel shuttle worker would be the last person to see Talika alive. This hotel worker would go on to comment that the woman seemed agitated and paranoid, and when he dropped her off at the hospital, she backed away while saying that she was very sorry and also said, quote, "I can't go back there with you." Approximately 2 hours after Talika had been dropped off, a motorist would call police reporting that a white vehicle was driving out of control. This vehicle said to have been driving at speeds upwards of 90 miles an hour, slowing down along the median and passing other vehicles in the process. And the vehicle's description fit that of Talika's. On December 6th, the following morning, Talika Patrick failed to show up for work, and staff grew extremely concerned after she didn't return any of their phone calls. It was then discovered that her purse and cell phone were actually left at the hospital from her previous shift. It was at this point where the woman was reported missing. Just after 10 p.m. that night, a vehicle matching the description of the concerned motorist was found in a ditch off the westbound lane of I-94 near Portage, Indiana. There was nobody present in the vehicle, and authorities weren't able to find a wallet or ID. For the time, they had no idea whose car this was. On December 10th of 2013, it was determined by police that Talika's vehicle was actually the one that had been found in the ditch on December 5th. Authorities then went back to the crash site where the car had been found and conducted a thorough search of the area, aided by search and rescue and bloodhounds. The hounds were able to track Talika to the edge of the roadway, but after that, the scent was lost. They searched the areas for hours but couldn't find the woman anywhere. Considering Talika's mental health history, this was turning out to be quite the concerning situation. Along with leaving her cell phone and purse behind, Talika also left credit cards back as well, meaning that authorities couldn't track her by way of purchases made, and her social media had been curiously deleted around the time as well. Talika's family had suspected foul play and hired a private investigator to look into the case. Through his findings, the investigator was able to report that Talika was stressed and agitated on the night of her disappearance. But the investigator could not determine the source of the stress or if it had anything to do with her looming disappearance. However, what was found around this time were some extremely unsettling tweets posted by Talika. "I'm like a squirrel. Squirrels take their nuts underground and then they eat them when mostly no one is looking. My nuts are people and I take them underground into my secret world. That is why I'm so excited to spend time with you because we can go underground together." One tweet talks about a psychiatric drug called Invega, which is used to treat schizophrenia. The tweet read, "I guess Invega is not as powerful as they advertised." It was highly speculated that the person that Talika was referring to, that she wanted to take underground was, Marvin Sapp, the gospel singer that she was obsessed with. And the family of Talika actually thought that Marvin Sapp was somehow involved with her disappearance. Like, perhaps he had killed her or kidnapped her or something. Which, I don't really think that's the case when the guy's filing restraining orders, but, they have their reasonings, I guess. Whatever the case, eventually there would be some sort of closure to this story. In January of 2014, police would search the area that Talika went missing in, which included Lake Charles, but they didn't find any evidence of her at this time. However, a few months later in April of 2014, as the winter began to diminish and spring began, a man was fishing at the very same lake in the northwest part of Indiana. This man reported seeing something resembling a corpse. He would inform authorities about his findings and they would perform a subsequent search. A search that uncovered a dead body in the lake. After an investigation from the coroner in Porter County, Indiana, the authorities were able to determine that the deceased body was indeed that of Talika Patrick. She had finally been found and unfortunately was no longer with us. Sheriff Richard Fuller had said in a news conference around the time that there seemed to be no signs of trauma or foul play found on the body, and that the initial cause of death appeared to be drowning. A second autopsy would be performed by 2 forensic pathologists. This autopsy revealed that the cause of death was from asphyxiation by drowning. The official ruling on this case, at least from Kalamazoo police, was that Talika's death was caused by an accidental drowning. To this day, the events that led Talika drowning in a lake remain somewhat of a mystery. And I say somewhat because given her previous mental health struggles and the sort of behavior showcased in the YouTube videos, the instability, one can sort of rationally put together a timeline here. That being, Talika had a mental health crisis that remained unaddressed, which led her falling into a delusional state that ultimately results in her winding up into a lake and drowning. That being because she couldn't swim, or she was lost, or it was dark, who knows. But with multiple coroners confirming that it was drowning and no foul play was involved, in my opinion, that's the series of events that happened. In what was a bizarre story of a clearly struggling woman foreshadowing her own disappearance on social media, that was the Talika Patrick story. A missing persons incident that fueled constant speculation back in 2016 was the case of YouTuber Marina Joyce. Marina is a British YouTuber who started her career in 2010.
Hi guys! So today's video is talking about Am I Pretty Enough? So this is based around society and society's beauty standards, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how everybody is beautiful and that you should never believe what society thinks or says about you.
Her content was mostly dedicated to makeup tutorials and how-to videos. In 2016, she found herself a part of a worldwide conspiracy when concerned viewers became convinced she was in danger after YouTube viewers reported Marina appearing frightened and distressed in recent uploads, with viewers noting uncharacteristic behavior from the woman, such as her staring blankly into the camera as well as making subtle gestures as if she was asking for help.
Explain the bruises. It's actually a private story. It's quite a sad story, but like recently, it's actually the bruises. I wasn't okay recently, so like it's really sad about the bruises, but I can't say what happened.
It was thought that she may have been kidnapped. Marina's bizarre behavior caused the internet to devolve into a frenzy, with some convinced that Marina was being compelled by some outside third party to make videos under duress. One comment from the time says, "I have the feeling, along with many other people, that someone is forcing Marina to make these videos, most likely her boyfriend, but it's possible that she could have been kidnapped. Or she's overdosing on drugs. Her eyes keep trailing off behind the camera and her body language makes her seem incredibly uncomfortable, almost like she's repeating what someone else is doing. She can barely stand still. She's shaking and her whole body appears stiff and wobbly."
This is I'm not in danger. If you guys wanted to know. I really love you.
On July 26th of 2016, after YouTubers began to make videos expressing their concerns for her, hashtag #SaveMarinaJoyce trended #1 worldwide on Twitter and caused mass mania within social media regarding the woman. Marina attempted to quell the concerns with a tweet advertising a fan meetup, but her tweet only made folks more concerned, with some suggesting that Marina was attempting to kidnap fans or perhaps even recruit them for ISIS. Yes, that was a thing. We really need to spread awareness. Even though I have no idea if she is being hurt or not, I want her safe and sound. Hashtag #SaveMarinaJoyce. Can someone please phone the police and tell them about all of this and mainly about the meetup? It seems so dangerous. I am dead scared for the girl. What if she is abused? The official law enforcement account of Marina's local area, the Enfield Police Bureau, ended up tweeting that they had made contact with Marina Joyce and that she was perfectly fine. Quote, "Officers have visited YouTube user Marina Joyce. She is safe and well." Marina herself would follow up this tweet, also confirming that she was fine. I am totally okay, guys. I'm feeling very good today, and it's actually so heartwarming to see so many people care about me. She also put out the following statements. "I care about my YouTube channel, and after this, I have got lots more viewers, which is really good. But I am really okay. There are no ISIS terrorists here. Naturally, Marina's affirmations did little to quell the online frenzy. The online fans that felt she had been kidnapped now believed that Marina had performed a publicity stunt/hoax that made light of kidnapping victims. Whether that was her intention or not, the undeniable fact of this matter was that her channel was growing rapidly because of this controversy. Keemstar from Drama Alert would report that she was receiving close to 100 million views a month on her channel.
About Marina Joyce, that YouTuber that had about 500,000 subscribers, but then everybody thought she was kidnapped by ISIS. So her channel blew up to over 2 million subscribers, and she is currently receiving over 100 million views a month.
She would continue to ride this way for some time without directly addressing her strange behavior in prior videos. However, in 2017, Marina would upload a video wherein she explains in her view the cause of the strange behavior in that old content. She said that she had gone through, quote, a traumatic experience and that she, quote, suffered from depression and that #SaveMarinaJoyce helped her get better.
When I started to think about what I had to say to you, I started crying because a really traumatic experience happened to me that I kind of want to explain to you. All these videos that you watched about me, about people guessing what happened to me, I'm so glad that Saving Marina Joyce was a thing simply because it helped me to get better. And now I feel like I'm so much better.
She insisted that the conspiracy theories were all lies.
I simply don't want you to believe any of the conspiracy theories because none of them are true, and I can promise you that. It's always best to believe the truth directly from the person themselves.
While Marina does vaguely touch on personal issues in this video, she does a poor job explaining her 2016 behavior, and many left unsatiated. People would continue to speculate what was going on with Marina Joyce for years. In 2018, Keemstar would speculate that Marina Joyce was on drugs. Quote, none of it makes sense. Very vague statements after very strange statements for 2 years. I suggest that she's on drugs, and she denied those claims and was upset with me. I don't think she's got a right to be upset with anyone speculating when she won't provide a reasonable explanation. Marina Joyce fired back and criticized Keemstar in a now deleted video.
Not to mention, this guy is actually egging on his fans to send death threats to me and Marina.
He's trying to cause drama just for fame and money, and he's trying to make it out like I'm trying to make views from this, and he's just trying to generate drama over my private life. He has no consideration for me. He does not worry or care about me whatsoever. He's lying to people saying, we're just worried about you, Marina. And it's such BS because honestly, he is just trying to make me look bad and spread fake lies. He has been so manipulative towards me.
Keemstar would reply to Marina in a Twitter video.
Marina Joyce and Brendan whatever your name is. Marina Joyce's boyfriend, basically, because you're very irrelevant. And she's only relevant because people thought she was kidnapped. You say you're good people, but you're not. The video you just uploaded is filled with clips from my trolling days when I used to make trolling videos, completely taken out of context. You started off the video showing a clip of me saying that I want to kill somebody and I want to strangle them. The reason why I said that on a live stream was because they were saying horrible things about my young child. And as a parent, yeah, I had that reaction. We've downloaded this. We've downloaded Brandon's, we archived his Twitter. We've got everything. So I'm gonna make a full response to this, show how you guys manipulate it, lied, show you guys being complete hypocrites when you say, oh, we're good people, spread love and positivity, but then you're calling me gnome and everything else. I mean, this is pretty much career ending what you guys just did.
After this squabble with Keemstar, Marina would continue to upload regular YouTube content and things would normalize. However, this period of normalcy would be short-lived as the Marina Joyce mystery would find reason to return. She would find herself in the headlines once again in 2019 when it was being reported that Marina Joyce had gone missing. It was announced by MPS London Haringey Police that Marina Joyce had been reported missing on August 7th of 2019 and was last seen on July 31st. Can you help find Marina Joyce, 22, missing from Haringey, last seen on 31st of July and reported missing to police on August 7th? Call with any info. Upon the announcement of Marina going missing, fans leapt into action once again with hashtag #FindMarinaJoyce trending on Twitter. Many were extremely concerned for Marina's safety and felt that she may be a danger to herself, as just a month prior, the famous YouTuber Etika had tragically passed away in a situation quite similar to what was playing out. The internet was up in arms, collectively trying to track down this perennial mystery girl. However, just a few hours after police had made Marina's disappearance public information, Marina's boyfriend published the following message to social media. This is a temporary post to send a message to everyone worried for Marina. Everything is being dealt with in a professional manner. Please don't worry about her as she is safe and well. You have my word for that. Also, everyone who thinks I'm acting suspicious are only misinformed and don't know me at all. Good night, people. In a now deleted Instagram post, the boyfriend would explain in more detail that Marina had gone to stay with some mutual friends. Naturally, though, fans didn't believe Marina's boyfriend's explanation and vigorously questioned the validity of his claims. Marina Joyce's boyfriend is being shady as fuck. I hope she's safe and healthy. I don't trust Marina Joyce's boyfriend at all. There's something so off about him, and those messages where he said she was okay, I hope she's genuinely okay. Keemstar makes a tweet mocking Marina Joyce's fan base. Marina Joyce's friends. Marina is not missing, she is safe. Marina Joyce's boyfriend. Marina is not missing, she is safe. Marina Joyce's fan base. Marina was kidnapped by aliens. Thankfully, Marina was found within the next few days. She was fine and healthy. A few months later in October, she would make it clear that this was simply a misunderstanding and defended her boyfriend in the post as well. Quote, I never went missing in the first place. Also, Brandon has been so loyal throughout all of this. So don't trust anybody but him when somebody says something because he's the only one who knows everything and is my closest and protects me more than any other person out there. The language of this tweet made the more die-hard Marina Joyce conspiracy theorists feel as if the boyfriend was now manipulating her into making these statements. But the majority of people were now comfortable believing that Marina was safe and sound. Marina Joyce would lay low on YouTube for the next several years and never really addressed this fiasco, or the fiascos beforehand. However, in a recent video published December of 2022, Marina talked about her prior controversies and gave a lot of background information as to why she came off the way she did in those 2016 videos that started it all. Marina would reveal in this video that she suffered from multiple sclerosis and had lost vision in her left eye.
The reason why I was so laggy in 2016 and all that kind of stuff was because I actually was going through MS. So if you don't know what MS is, it's multiple sclerosis, and it's a condition where your body will eventually die. It's kind of like cancer, but it's not as bad. But what it is, because it actually disables your body, I went blind in my left eye completely, and I had to go to the hospital and be put on steroids to kind of cure my eye as much as possible. My eye is still kind of blurry at the moment, like my left eye, but I can see through my right eye, so I'm not completely blind. I'm kind of partially disabled in that kind of way.
This disorder could also explain many of the body language quirks presented in this content. In regard to the 2019 disappearance, she said that she didn't technically go missing. Her parents were just really worried about her after being out with friends for several days.
And also about the, when I went missing, I didn't actually go missing. It's just my parents were worried for me. It got really out of hand.
Marina Joyce has become quite the enigmatic figure on YouTube over the years, with many believing to this day that she's still part of some conspiracy or is kidnapped and being compelled to make content. But the majority of the internet by this point has come to the realization that all of the hype and controversy surrounding her was nothing more than an internet frenzy and people wanting to latch on to some sort of mystery. But maybe I'm speaking too soon. We'll have to see what's in store for the next chapter of the never-ending saga that is Marina Joyce on YouTube. And well, you made it to the end. Let me know what you guys thought about this video down below in the comment section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.
You think life is short? Football is short. The regular season's just 18 weeks. Just 3 days a week. Sometimes just...
He's the angry Atari Amiga CDI.
Set the time? Since when did video game consoles start telling time? I have a clock. A rolling rock clock. I don't need this shit. I can wear a watch. Or a watch is not cool enough. No, kids nowadays, they just look at their phones. Yeah, I'd look so cool going around telling time on my phone. Yeah, you wanna look cool? Put a Sega Dreamcast on your wrist with a TV and a gas-powered electric generator. You'd be so awesome. Let's play this.
You'll witness before you a phenomenon like no other. My name is Leonard Nimoy, and I will be your guide.
No way. Leonard Nimoy?
For a lot of folks out there, gaming is their way to relax. The feeling of coming home from school or work, hopping into a voice call with the homies and playing some banter-filled matches, it's really a tough feeling to beat. It rejuvenates the soul, which is strange to me because I remember hearing all this stuff growing up in the 90s about how video games would rot your brain and make you become violent. That being said though, there have been a few disturbing examples of people with video game addictions and other unhealthy gaming relationships committing heinous crimes, from bloody disputes over rare in-game items to gaming romances turned sour to a kid shooting his parents over Halo 3 being taken away. And in today's video, I'd like to look where murder and video gaming intersect. These are the video game killers. Before we start, I want to thank today's sponsor, Warby Parker, for providing your boy with a slick new pair of glasses. Warby Parker's private server community surrounding the game is still thriving. And in 2019, one of these thriving private server communities was that of Perfect World Void. And it's a Perfect World Void player that will be the focus of this tale. That player was known by the name Minhaz. A highly active player inside this Perfect World private server, Minhaz was also an active member of the Perfect World Void Discord as well. In the Discord, he had a bit of a reputation and was known for being a troublesome troll of sorts. In particular, Minhaz was also known for being a staunch atheist, and he often left incendiary comments disparaging religion to the Discord server and in the game itself under the name Allah. Minhaz had a particular dislike for the religion of Islam, citing his hatred came from parents pushing their religious beliefs on him growing up. Now, Minhaz would often type in this sort of edgy / 4chan influenced dialect, so at times it was kind of difficult to tell if he was joking around. He really kept his intentions ambiguous at times. A lot of people wrote Minhaz off as being nothing more than just an edgy shitposter. So you might imagine when he sent the following message to a Perfect World Void community member on Discord, they probably thought he was kidding around. I just slaughtered my entire family and will most likely spend the rest of my life in jail if I manage to survive. His Discord associate replies, "Nani? I just woke up." The member likely thinking this was another one of Minhaz's trolling bits. Minhaz then replies, "I'm sorry, do you want the pics?" The friend replies, "Okay." Moments later, Minhaz begins sending over graphic photography showing 4 dead bodies covered in blood with their throats slit. Briefly in shock, the friend quickly replied,
Did you know that your favorite productivity solutions are free for eligible?
But I never got my hands on that. Instead, I played with this. This system was trying to be a ripoff of another system, so it got a lot of things wrong. Now, there's a community out there online that's capable of fixing these things, but all you really need to know is that out of the box, it doesn't run games well. You're gonna have to open it up and flash a memory card inside just to make it run games the way that they were intended to. But it's not that that's the issue. You see, this thing, the one that you get straight from Soulja Boy, is apparently loaded with thousands of games. And who owns those games? Well, definitely not Soulja Boy, but let's not get into that now, because this isn't the only system that he's selling. This little console is called the Retro Mini, but Soulja Boy calls it the Retro Soulja Boy Mini. Kind of funny, right? Well, you know what isn't funny? Playing this system. It's got a whole bunch of problems, just like the last one we were talking about, but what makes this so much worse is that all of the games that are on here appear to be on here illegally, because the people that made this console didn't get the rights to the original games. But if you were to really not care about that and still play it, there's a whole bunch of titles on here that aren't in English, and you can't actually play them unless you know the original language they were made in. Now, why does this matter? Well, because if Soulja Boy is re-releasing these systems with all of those games pre-installed, that means he likely doesn't have the rights to distribute them either, meaning that there's going to be probably some legal problems down the road. But all the systems that Soulja Boy is selling are not all things that we've covered on the show before. One of them is a console called the Fuse. Now, the Soulja game Fuse is not actually the Soulja game Fuse. It's just a system called Fuse that was originally released a couple years ago in China. Now, this system, many people might assume is a knockoff because of all the other ones we've talked about so far, but it's not. This system is actually kind of special. Now, this console was never sold in North America, so it's not the easiest system to get a hold of, especially really quick. But a viewer of ours named Brian actually had one in his collection, and he loaned his to us. And folks, well, we were really impressed. There were two different versions of this console, a cheaper model and a more expensive model. The more expensive one just had a bigger hard drive in it and the ability to wirelessly charge controllers, as far as we can tell. But what you need to know is that everything you're seeing here is pretty much the same kind of gameplay you're going to be looking at when you get this system straight from Soulja Boy. And thankfully, Soulja Boy is apparently selling the more expensive model. But does that really matter? Well, no. Both consoles play games the exact same way with the same performance, but what's really great about this console is that it's not a knockoff or clone system. This is a legitimate console with games that you can download and buy, so it's not preloaded with a bunch of illegal software and stuff like that. You'll actually have to buy games for the console itself. Now, why that's so cool is because, well, there's games on here that you may actually want to play, like Half-Life 2. And, well, maybe some of the other games are more Android games and stuff like that, and maybe they're not so much fun to play, but the idea that Half-Life 2 is on here and working is crazy. But there is a caveat. Brian, the owner of this system, preloaded a bunch of games onto the console for us to play. And while many of them did work, we were warned about a number of things that this console has issues with. And one of them? Well, this console is online all the time, and because the servers for this system are in China, sometimes it just turns off once in a while when it can't make a stable connection. And there were so many instances while we were playing that we simply couldn't have a stable gameplay experience. But not only that, some games on here, although they are the official versions of the games, don't seem to run all that well when it comes to the way that you control them. Half-Life 2, for instance, seemed to have controller input lag that made it very difficult to play. Even though the frame rate seemed to be pretty high and the graphics seemed to be pretty good, there's many instances here where I simply wouldn't be able to recommend these games to anyone if you could play them on a North American system or possibly on a PC. But it's not just that. This console, like I said, was sold in China, and it was never supposed to be sold anywhere else. So not only do you have to worry about the online all the time issues and the server problems, but you also have to deal with the fact that most of the system is in Chinese. Many of the menus, many of the setups, all that stuff is going to require you to have some basic understanding of that language. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry, this console simply won't work for you. Now, is Soulja Boy going to be selling this exact same system? Well, I believe he's going to. He probably has no idea that the system doesn't work, but even if it's just a bare-bones shell with a basic Android overlay that probably allows you to download Android games, then all you're getting is an Android box that plays things your cell phone can play. And really, would you want to spend that much on something like that? Well, probably not, because he's actually charging you way more than what the consoles actually cost. While I think this system is cool and really well designed, I really can't recommend you buy it from Soulja Boy directly because, well, he's charging too much for it, and on top of that, well, if you're outside of China, you're likely going to have a lot of problems with this. Even if it's been stripped down and it's still an Android box, it's still way too expensive. But if you look past all of that and look past all of the systems he's selling on that website, he's got one that really stands out. Let's take a look at the Soulja game console a little bit closer because I think this one has got a lot more problems.
This is the X Pro 800-in-1, and although it doesn't look like the same console that Soulja Boy is selling, it is on the inside. And every single knockoff console that Soulja Boy is putting his name on have the exact same problem. Today they might be one system, but tomorrow that might change, because these manufacturers of these systems don't have the same qualities and standards that you would find from Sony, Microsoft, or even Nintendo. This console here is supposed to look like an Xbox One X, but it clearly isn't that. On the bottom right, you will see Ultra HD 4K HDMI, but this system can barely push 720p. And don't even kid yourself by looking at that controller on the box. Yes, that isn't an Xbox controller, it's clearly a PlayStation controller, but it doesn't matter because it's not even the controller that you get in the box. Instead, what you get is this weird-looking device with some strange screen plastic piece in the center. Now that plastic piece, while you're playing the system, will eventually fall off, and it'll reveal that in the back, there's just a sticky piece of tape holding it in place. So I don't know what that was supposed to be originally, but it really doesn't do anything. The controller feels ultra light and incredibly hollow. And although it doesn't have the worst buttons in the world, they definitely aren't the best. And the one thing that I really don't like about the controller is the D-pad, because the directional pad isn't actually a pad that can be moved around kind of like a shield or something with a central pivot. Instead, it's 4 individual buttons, which doesn't sound like a problem at first, right? But then when you're playing a video game really fast and you happen to hit 2 buttons down at the same time in the wrong direction, well, guess what happens? Your character on the screen stops moving completely because there's too many inputs for the console to recognize. But what about that console? Well, the X Pro seems to be designed even worse than the controllers it comes bundled with. On the front, you'll find 2 USB ports and a power button. On the back, of course, you'll find an HDMI out, and you'll also find composite video out. But you're probably asking yourself, why is there composite video out? If I have HDMI, wouldn't that be good enough? Well, see, that's the thing. This system isn't actually playing any of the games in high definition because it can't. They're old. They're really old games. And none of those games originally were supposed to be in high definition. So instead of getting a properly scaled version of an older video game that's been carefully tailored from the creators themselves, you're getting a whole bunch of knockoff games just built into the system without any care whatsoever. But speaking about the system, well, it feels kind of light. Let's take a look inside to see exactly how many components are stuffed on in here. And, what? Where is everything? It's like one board and a couple wires sticking out to the sides. This is incredible. Why is the box so big when there's so little inside here? I can fit an entire NES Classic inside the empty space in this box. And a bunch of controllers, too.
Now available, Twisted Tea Light. Twisted Tea Light is the same real brew tea flavor you love with fewer calories. And with 4% alcohol, it's the...
So the controls aren't that great and the console is pretty much hollow. How does it run games? Well, there's only one way to find out. The console starts up to an ugly blue screen with a whole bunch of systems you can pick from. You've got some Capcom arcade games, Neo Geo titles, NES, GBA, Game Boy Color, Game Boy, despite the fact that that icon is clearly a Game Boy Advance, Sega Genesis, SNES, and that isn't an SNES controller, Sega Master System, Game Gear, and PlayStation 1. And you can also add more games with an SD card. But why would you want to do that if you have 800 built in? And would they even work that well? Probably not, but let's take a look at some arcade games first. Whether it be something from Capcom or a game running on Neo Geo, you're gonna run into a bunch of problems. Sometimes the screen can look blurry, but other times it can look sharp. You'll get screen tearing a lot of the times, and sometimes it will be there, but not nearly as present. A lot of the controls seem to be a little bit sluggish, but one problem you're going to have across the board is that every single game is running in the incorrect aspect ratio. Everything is running in widescreen when the games are originally 4:3. I know that might not be that big of a deal for some, but it makes all the characters look fat. This could have been easily addressed by giving you some kind of settings or options somewhere in the console so that you can change the way the game looks, but that simply doesn't exist. There are no options anywhere, and the only thing you're capable of doing is saving and loading game states at any moment that you want, which works well enough, but when the games look like this, do you really want to keep playing them? But I will give the console some credit. If you can look past some of the audio issues, visual issues, and sometimes you just get slowdown for no reason at all that typically wouldn't have been in the original releases, at least the games do turn on and you can play them. But without some of the standard abilities like being able to remap controls, which you'll want to do with a controller like this, you'll find yourself unable to play certain games that you typically could have played with a lot of other competing systems. The box the console came in claimed to have 800 games pre-installed into the system, and I'm not going to sit there and count each and every one, but I'm pretty sure it's close to or at least 800 games. And a whole bunch of these titles seem to run about as well as the arcade games did. Whether you play Sega Master System games, anything from the Game Gear collection, and any Game Boy or Game Boy Color game, well, they all seem to run, but they have the exact same issues I mentioned previously. It was around this time that I started to notice that they put in really questionable games instead of putting in other games that people are more familiar with. For instance, there is only one PlayStation game on here, only one, and that one game is International Superstar Soccer Pro 98. Funny enough, this game seems to run great, the only problem being that they stretch the aspect ratio, but I guess you can just avoid that and play some soccer. But that is a problem. There is only one game on here for PlayStation, and it's soccer. They didn't choose anything else like Crash Bandicoot or Metal Gear Solid, they chose this. But maybe there's a reason for that. Now, if you play any other game on this entire system, if you push down a certain combination of buttons on the controller, you'll jump back to a menu, and from that menu you can save and load states at any point. Unfortunately, PlayStation games don't have that ability on the system. There's no way to save and load states. I'm not 100% certain why, because I'm pretty sure emulators are capable of doing that, but this one simply can't do it from what I can tell. What does happen, though, is if you push that certain combination of buttons, the game boots back to the menu where you select games, completely destroying your experience. At any moment while you're playing, at any moment, you might hit the wrong combination of buttons and the game will automatically quit without any warning. This means that even if you put your own games on here, chances are that while you're playing it, they're just gonna randomly quit. Not cool. But back to something more positive. Now, there are a lot of games on this system, and pretty much every game on here has an image associated with the game. This can be very helpful while you're going through lists, because maybe you don't know what the name is, but you do know one of the characters, and it actually helps you identify what the games are. Unfortunately, though, about 50% of all the games on this system don't have an image, and instead use this. What even is that? It's on over half of all the games you're gonna find on this system. Now, I had to solve this mystery, and I think this is what happened. The people that built this system originally were looking for some random image to put over a bunch of games, and because these games are MAME games, I guess most of them might be, they decided to type in MAME game on Google image search. But what happened was, they misspelt the word game, and instead of using an A, they used an O, and then we got this. One tiny mistake that affects half of everything on this system. And even when they did bother to look up a specific image for a video game, sometimes they would get the completely wrong image. For instance, this is what Last Resort looks like on the Neo Geo, and here's what you'll actually find in the menu. That's a TV show. It has nothing to do with the video game. Now, sometimes they'll get the game right. For instance, this is Contra, and this is what the box art looks like for the original NES release. But instead what they used was a fan-made Photoshop. There's Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's Sylvester Stallone, and there's an alien from the movie Alien. You'll see tons of images on this system that don't represent the actual game you're about to play. In some cases, they'll just put the wrong cover art from a completely different game in the franchise, or in other cases, it'll just not be the game that it's supposed to be. All right, I need a break. Let's play a game that every emulation system on the planet can run properly. Super Mario Brothers. Now yes, the image again is warped and pulled, and it's actually pretty blurry, which is shocking for a 4K capable system. But what really gets me is that while I'm playing this, there is a significant problem with the screen. You can see some seriously bad screen tearing on this game whenever you move too fast, but if you actually choose to run too fast with Mario, the controls seem to kind of mess up a bit. And on top of that, because you can't remap the controls, the button and the jump have been reversed, making it very difficult to play with this controller. Absolutely every NES game you can possibly play on this system has the exact same problems, whether it be issues with controls, the overall blurry image, and the screen tearing. Oh, the screen tearing. It's everywhere. And because this is a knockoff system, you're gonna get a whole bunch of games on here that are hacks and modifications of pre-existing titles. And in some cases, they replace the real games that you would have actually wanted to play. If you're a longtime viewer of the Worst Ever series, you're likely gonna recognize some of these bad Super Mario Bros. Games. But there's also a couple of new ones here that I've never seen, like this one, where Mario turns into a ball and rolls onto things. But you better not jump on your enemies, because that would actually hurt you. You know, the one thing Mario is supposed to be good at? Here's the thing, folks. If you're gonna hack a game and turn it into a Super Mario title, you might as well find a game where Mario can jump on things. It's kind of his defining move. But it's not just rip-offs and hacks of Mario games you'll discover. You'll also find entirely new titles that are built specifically for the power of the NES, like Tekken 2? Tekken 2's on the PlayStation. You have a pretty decent PlayStation emulator on here. Why is Tekken 2 on the NES? Oh, this is not gonna run good, is it?
What if you could do SEO smarter and faster? With Wix, you can edit your meta tags.
Nope, this is bad. This is real bad, folks. Look at the character select screen. Doesn't it look like there's 16 characters you can choose from? Well, there isn't. Each character appears twice. There's only 8. 8! Why would you lie about that? There's no reason to do that. And even with that inflated number, you're still nowhere close to the amount of characters you can pick in the original version of Tekken 2. But the most offensive aspect of this game is trying to play it. Any of the combos you might know, any of the moves you may have understood and learned over the years of playing Tekken, you're not gonna know it here because it just doesn't work. But you know what does work? The controller that comes with this system has 4 buttons to the right. 2 of them are your A and B, and the top one are the Turbo A and the Turbo B. If you just hold the Turbo B button down, your character keeps on kicking. If you get to the left or right of the screen and hold that button down, you will win every single match that you happen to play. It is a joke. But it gets worse because Tekken 2 is not the only knockoff NES fighting game you're gonna find. You'll also find Mortal Kombat 5? This is crazy. There's a Mortal Kombat 4 knockoff game that we already looked at on another system. As far as I can tell, they're not related. But what it might be related to is Tekken 2, because the character select screen again duplicates all your character choices. This just plays awful. It's got the exact same problems that Tekken 2 had, but now you've got fatalities. I think I did it once by accident, but I have no idea how that activated. This whole thing is just bizarre. Why was anyone porting Mortal Kombat games to the NES illegally and under the radar? And why did 2 people do it in tandem and actually number them in order? That's so weird. And there's another sequel to another ripoff from another system we looked at. Street Fighter 2 on the NES doesn't exist, but we did see a ripoff version of it, and here is Street Fighter 3? Who is making all these? But the weirdest collection of knockoff games are the Pokemon ones. That's right, folks, Pokemon games on the NES. Obviously, you know they didn't exist, but here's Pokemon Blue, which is clearly just a knockoff of Wacky Races. This is a terrible version of the game because the sprite work is just so awful. Look at that. You're gonna have to stare at that gross little thing the entire time you're playing the game. How is that Squirtle? How is that Squirtle? There's even a Pokemon Red, and that one also looks bad as well too. It's like the same person was going through and modifying all these games to make them new Pokemon titles when none of them even play like a Pokemon game. And look, if you're gonna make a Pokemon Green game just like they did, you'd probably use a green Pokemon. I don't know, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, one of the green ones. But you wouldn't probably use Clefairy, would you? Yeah, I don't think you would. I wouldn't, because Clefairy is pink, not green, but they used it anyway and changed the color. Even the strawberries in this game are green. Why did they do this? And if you keep playing the game for a while, eventually you'll see a blue Clefairy. They're not blue, they're not green, they're pink. Link! You can go so far down the NES Pokemon rabbit hole that eventually you'll find The Legend of Zelda, where instead of Link, you're playing as Pikachu, which sounds kinda cute, right? But it's the only thing they changed besides the health counter being Pokeballs. They were so lazy with this hack that when you shoot your lightning bolt attack up and down, it's a lightning bolt. But when you shoot left and right, it's a sword! If you swing over to the SNES collection, you're gonna be met with a ton of games that just don't play exactly like they're supposed to. They're just a little bit off in a couple of ways, but the thing that is most noticeable is the improper sound emulation. Look, here is what this part of Yoshi's Island is supposed to sound like. And now, here's how it sounds in this game. You'll find these sound problems in every single Super Nintendo game that you happen to play, but they're not as bad as the sound problems you'll find on the Game Boy Advance. For example, this is what Mario Kart Super Circuit is supposed to sound like on a real GBA. On the X Pro, it sounds like this.
You think life is short? Football is short. So cherish every over and under before it's over.
The sound is messed up on the entire library of Game Boy Advance games, and what makes it worse is that every single game plays sluggishly, and that just makes it so difficult when you're trying to play a game that requires fast precision input. So as you can no doubt tell, the majority of the games on this system simply don't play well, or in some instances are not playable at all. But I believe I've saved the very best for last. Witness the Sega Genesis Collection. Now, first off, let's take a look at Sonic 2. Now, Sonic 2 to the casual observer probably looks like it's running properly, right? But it really isn't. There's a lot of issues that are going down with the way that the game controls, but you'll also notice visual issues just all over the place in kind of weird areas, like the bottom of the screen here, or in some instances, the game starts to slow down randomly at points for no reason at all. Just listen to the music struggle to get up to speed. You're gonna find tons of other problems with the other Genesis games in the collection, and sometimes the game will look sort of okay like Sonic 3, but then when you go to a bonus stage, this happens. The ground flickers and stutters and really starts to hurt your eyes after playing for a while. The deeper I went into the Genesis collection, the stranger the games got, and I found a whole bunch of mods and hacks and just a bunch of weird clone games that I have never seen before. This game is called Sonic Amy Rose, and you'd probably assume that you're supposed to be Amy from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. But as soon as the game starts up, to a broken title screen no less, you find that you're not actually Amy, but you're Mighty the Armadillo. These two characters look nothing alike! All this is the original Sonic the Hedgehog hacked to bits. And when you go to play the game, you're gonna find a bunch of problems like choppers jumping out of solid earth, and then at the very beginning of the first stage, if you move too fast, this will happen. And that's it. Game over. It's glitched and you can't do anything except restart. And hey, do you like the Sega Genesis but don't like Sega's characters? Well, why not play a knockoff Pokemon game where you play as Pikachu? And guess what, folks? There's not one of these, but two of them. And I do not know what is going on. Pikachu doesn't really seem to have any good attacks, the controls are just awful, and then on the second game, you can actually throw Pokeballs at your enemy. Pikachu can throw Pokeballs as an attack. I don't know if this is a modification or some alteration of a pre-existing game, but there is no music in the entire game whatsoever. What there is, though, is very, very irritating sound effects. Listen to Pikachu jump here. Could Could you have not picked a better sound effect? Oh, you're probably thinking, why is it such a big deal? Well, Pikachu jumps all the time, so the entire game you're just hearing that over and over again. But you know what's crazy? That's not even the worst sounding knockoff Pokemon game on the Sega Genesis. There's a third one. It's called Pokemon Crazy Drummer. I don't even know what this is. I have to assume that someone somewhere made a bootleg Pokemon drumming game that utilizes a completely unique controller. And whatever that controller is, it does not line up with the one that came with this system. So I have absolutely no idea how to play this game. And even if I could, even if it came with a controller, even if I could play it perfectly, I would not want to. Just listen to how this thing sounds. It sounds like a broken techno song, but why? Why is it Pokemon themed? This has absolutely nothing to do with Pokemon. This is just an incredibly bad game, and it's not hard to play because it's challenging, it's hard to play because it was poorly made. But Soulja Boy did not make this video game console. He just found it and stuck his name on it. Do you know how insane that is? Why would anyone want to do that with this system? If you could put your name on anything, wouldn't you put it on a Switch or some other system? This is just a terrible idea all around. Whether you call it the Soulja Game console or the X Pro, this system clearly deserves to be among the ranks of the worst ever.
Online over Twitter, Soulja Boy has told everyone that he's made a bunch of money from selling these systems. And you know what? Soulja Boy, that's great. I don't hate ya, I don't even know ya, but there are some issues here. Do you remember that music video you did for Crank That? You remember how you were wearing a shirt that had the Superman logo on it and they had to blur that out? That meant that you didn't have the rights to use that logo. Do you know what that means? When you don't have the rights to use something, they can come after you and charge you. And when you're looking at all these video game systems besides the Fuse console, you're selling consoles preloaded with games you don't own. Now look, you've made a ton of money and that's great. But remember, you didn't make money for yourself, you made money off the backs of other people's works. And maybe they're not gonna come after you today, but tomorrow they're gonna take all that money back.
We give our new customers $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1.
He's gonna take you back to the past to play the shitty games that suck ass. He'd rather have a buffalo take a diarrhea dump in his ear. He'd rather eat the rotten asshole of a roadkill skunk and down it with beer. He's the angriest gamer you've ever heard. He's the angry Nintendo nerd. He's the angry Atari Sega nerd. He's the angry video game nerd.
Fuck, they think I'm a fucking piece of shit. It begins with a stage selection screen. You move a magnifying glass over a photograph of the villains. By selecting a villain, you load their stage. That's pretty unique, I have to say. As you can see, it's a standard action side-scroller. Nothing much to explain. The graphics are satisfactory for this era. I guess I'm not supposed to be able to reach that D. Come on. Come on! Huh! Figured I could get a running start, but that doesn't work. Great, the game just began and they tease you with an item that you can't get. There's gotta be a way. Oh, I see, you bounce on the skateboarding penguins' heads. How could I be so casual when I say skateboarding penguins? Wait. Why didn't it work? What was it, a fluke the first time? Oh, maybe I bounce on this thing? Nope. It's not like I have to get the D. I don't even know what it does, but it pisses me off. I feel like an ass. I can't let that go. I feel like I've been fooled. It's like a test from the game programmers, a challenge. Like, you put that D there, and I'm gonna figure out how you intend I get to it. I believe this is possible. All I gotta do is bounce on one of these penguins. Why would it be so difficult? You know why? The penguins don't come when you're anywhere near the D. No, you gotta walk way out there before they start coming, and at that point they're so fast you lose them. I'll stun them with my gun, then bounce off them. I just gotta get one of them over to the D. Fuck. I give up. There's a whole game ahead of me. Fuck the D. The D can suck my dick. I have to mention, the controls are very delayed. You'd never know just by looking at it. No, you'd have to play it for yourself. Or, how about listen to me hit the button? You hear that? That's how delayed it is. Okay, here's Tuscanini. Immune to gunfire, apparently. I suppose I have to jump on him or over him. And that's so convenient when you're going uphill. Oh, no. Oh, I have an idea. Nope. Gotta admit, it was a pretty smart idea.
Sí, lo fue.
I accept
Pero
that I
bueno,
have to take
eso
it.
es todo.
Can I just get past him?
Espero que les haya gustado. Espero que tengan un buen día. Y los veré la próxima.
I've been playing
Bye
on normal
bye.
mode. I'm changing it to easy. Easy and normal.